no, but the truth is that, as ever in America, different people can take away what they like from this story on social media. So you'll find that Trumpers are like, well, see, this proves what we were saying all along. And people who are hostile to Trump don't mention the bit about him chucking out Jeffrey Epstein, but mention the bit that there'd been this traffic going, in massage therapists in inverted commas, really, with Jeffrey Epstein for years.
Information is emerging today about the relationship between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. An investigation by the Wall Street Journal has revealed that Trump banned Epstein from the Mar-a-Lago resort after he was sexually inappropriate towards an 18-year-old staff member. So the bit before we knew that Trump has always said, hasn't he, that he was creepy and that's why he was kicked out of the club. Now we know why. The convicted paedophile had been a frequent visitor to the beach club in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. And joining me to discuss the significance of all this is Sarah Baxter, journalist and director of the Mary Colvey Centre for International Reporting. Hi there, Sarah.
Hello there.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What are you drinking?
I'm going to drink champagne. It's traditional, isn't it? And I'm going to look at the New York fireworks from the rooftop. But I don't know how long I'll stay up there because it might be freezing.
Appropriately glamorous. What do you make of this discovery then in the Wall Street Journal? Because Trump has always said, I didn't know anything about what Epstein was up to, but I knew he was creepy. But now we find out that he was involved in a decision specifically around Epstein having been sexually inappropriate to one of his staff members.
Okay, so this story is really interesting because it's a double-edged sword for President Trump. On the one hand, it absolutely confirms what his spokeswoman is insisting, which is that Donald Trump threw out Jeffrey Epstein for being a creep. They had other issues as well over property and other things, but this portrays Donald Trump as, as soon as he knew what was going on, he chucked out Epstein. But actually, there's a lot more to this story than that simple headline, which, of course, the Trump side is keener to promote.
Yeah.
So what the story also says is that for years, Mar-a-Lago, the club that Trump had down there, was supplying girls as masseurs and spa people to Jeffrey Epstein and sending them a couple of miles down the road to Epstein. And of course, one of them that he was annoyed about because Epstein poached her was 16-year-old Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre. So, and it looks like they had this ongoing relationship where the people offering massages to Epstein and at Mar-a-Lago were very much the same sort of people. And so much so that Marla Maples, who was Trump's second wife in the late 90s, said to staff, something really off about that guy, Jeffrey Epstein. So it looks like ultimately Trump thought, he's fed up with the sort of sexualizing of his staff. Or maybe once a brave 18-year-old said she was going to report it, yes, he shut the thing down. But it looks like there was a lot of traffic going from Mar-a-Lago to Epstein, specifically regarding massage staff. And people had complained during that period that Epstein would expose himself at times to people going for those massages. So the 18-year-old who complained was drawing attention to something that seemed to be pretty well known. And at that point, Trump maybe decided it's getting too hot. The other thing is, of course, is that this was never reported to the police.
Right. Because as you're saying, on first glance, you can sort of see how this could have been a positive story for Trump if only he'd said earlier that this is what had happened. Even if he'd said it was an open secret, there were rumours, etc. But as soon as I had some firm evidence, I acted on it. That could have actually made him look pretty good. What's weird is it's taken all of this probing to get this information out. And so immediately you think, well, what's he hiding? And it sounds like really what he's hiding is that it went on for so long.
Yeah, so we're honest here on Times Radio. And so I'm presenting both sides of the story, i.e. the bit that looks quite good for Donald Trump and the bit that doesn't look quite good. And of course, the Wall Street Journal has done some tremendous reporting on what's been going on between Trump and Epstein. In fact, he's being sued by Trump for the alleged sexualized birthday letter, which the Journal is standing by. No, but the truth is that, as ever in America, different people can take away what they like from this story on social media. So you'll find that Trumpers are like, well, see, this proves what we were saying all along. And people who are hostile to Trump don't mention the bit about him chucking out Jeffrey Epstein, but mention the bit that there'd been this traffic going, in massage therapists in inverted commas, really, with Jeffrey Epstein for years. So it really is a double-edged sword, as I said, for Donald Trump.
Is it enough, though, for either side, actually? If you're waiting for the sort of killer smoking gun with which you can say, look, the president was deeply embroiled with this Jeffrey Epstein stuff all along, here's the evidence, it doesn't quite get that far because it shows, in some sense, at least the Mar-a-Lago organisation operating honourably. And if you're the side who say, look, Trump did the right thing all along, as you say, you look into it, he didn't. So, I mean, for either side, it doesn't make the story go away, does it? It's just more.
How many smoking guns does one need to show that Donald Trump was very friendly with Jeffrey Epstein? And of course, they were pictured together. Donald Trump himself said that on the record that Jeffrey Epstein liked women on the younger side. And his chief of staff recently gave an incredible interview to Vanity Fair, where she just said, well, they were playboys together back in that era. It's all well documented. But here's the thing, and the reason I think why Donald Trump can kind of get away with it in the way that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor hasn't, and some other people, is that for whatever reason, Donald Trump broke off relations with Jeffrey Epstein in about 2004, a little bit later than this incident with the 18-year-old would suggest, because they did correspond over a property deal that went sour. But he obviously broke off relationships with Epstein before Epstein was convicted of sex trafficking of underage women. So whereas other people, including, Lord Mandelson, plenty of others, carried on acting as if Jeffrey Epstein was their best friend. And that's the problem. So Trump, at least, for whatever reason, broke relations before that point. And that's his get out card.
Notable that we don't know the name of the victim here. She's not coming out and telling her side of the story.
Well, she might. We don't know that she's not going to at some point. I mean, some women have been incredibly brave about detailing the abuse that they suffered at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, and have gone public. And of course, we saw a number of women go public during the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But others would prefer to protect their privacy. They're much older now, often with families, etc. But they're still very bravely demanding more disclosure. And in fact, another revelation, that's just been happening while people are enjoying their sort of Christmas and New Year break, is that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, now says there seem to be up to 5 million more documents for them to view. They're supposed to have released everything by December the 19th. So by law, they were supposed to release everything. But what they're doing is releasing heavily redacted files, which, again, they weren't supposed to do. Yes. And they keep unearthing more and more millions of documents. So this is the story that won't go away.
Yeah, 5 million more documents are probably a million more blank pages, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's going to continue to dog Trump, and he will never shake himself free of this scandal. And yet, at the same time, it doesn't seem to be the scandal that will definitely finish him off either, just like so many other sex scandals involving the President of the United States. I can hardly believe I'm using those words, but it's true.
Indeed. Well, thank you for bringing us up to date. Happy New Year, Sarah.
Happy New Year.
Sarah Baxter there, journalist and director of the Mary Colvey Centre for International Reporting. You're with Ollie Mann here on